Thank you, Sister Alina. And warm welcome to everyone here tonight and everyone who is with us on the live stream and Zoom and so on. Our subject is developing the mental and spiritual traits of a real Bashan Davidian. We know that it's not enough now to believe. We must practice, we must do. It is something that is still a problem for many. We have many who believe, who understand the message and love the message, the doctrine, but they are not practicing the message in their life. And because they have learned this system from those before them in some ways, many times, they don't see anything so unusual about it. It is unusual, it is a mistake, and it can't be today. We need to live the message. It is not possible to go about our everyday life halfway in the world, not living the principles of the message, not being just and fair, kind and loving, following the golden rule, and all the other things that the message teaches for us to do in our day-to-day life, in our business, in our work, whatever we are doing, in our home. So, brethren, keep this in mind that we will never actually go into the kingdom knowing and believing the message but not practicing it. And now is the time for us to actually start doing this. This is the time for us to start practicing the things that we know we should do. Now there are people who fall under this category. Not all are Christs who adopt his name and wear his badge. And this sadly is true for us. Not all who are Bashan Davidians, who call themselves Bashan Davidians, are of God as Bashan Davidians. Jesus says, "Follow me." Are they following him who indulge sinful habits and enjoy the frivolities of the world? And these things are deeply embedded in our minds and our assumptions, our attitudes. They're part of us to the point where it's hard to realize that these things are not for us. They seem harmless and of no great consequence, but they tie us to the world. They lock us down, anchor us to the world. And as we are anchored there, we are never going to become true Davidians. We're never going to become the people that we are supposed to be. Can we see the footprints of the Savior in the path they tread? No. If we have not the Spirit of Christ, we are none of his. We cannot serve two masters. We cannot belong to Christ and to Belial. If in our habits and practices we are the world's, we do not belong to Christ. We may be his in the sense in which the earth and the beasts of the forest are his, but we are not his chosen ones. In other words, we are not truly part of the vanguard. And this situation is unfortunately far more common than it should be. We have very many people who are professing, but during the week they are not living the truth. And it is necessary that we live everything. We live health reform and dress reform, and moving up from there, we live life reform. We speak in the right way. We treat our fellow man in the right way, and we are the kind of husband, father, or son, daughter that the Lord requires us to be. And anything away from this standard, we are not His. We are calling ourselves by the name of Davidian, but we do not have the badge in truth with the Lord. We are not truly counted as a Davidian. So, with all these things, I want to go over some of these things, a few things tonight that are necessary and that we know are necessary, but I just want to encourage everyone to do these things, to take it seriously at this point, to make those life changes that that is required of us to actually practice these things. Practice and live by the golden rule. Do that and you will be doing everything, actually. But do the things that the Lord has required us to do, and it will be well with us. Failing to do this, we can be a Davidian in good standing and even have a fellowship certificate. But if we are not living the life we are supposed to be living, if we are not treating our family the way that we should treat our family, if we are not in our daily work and business, not exhibiting the principles of fairness and honesty and justice in all our transactions, we are none of His, brethren, and the Lord is not going to miss one thing. He is not going to accidentally let us into the kingdom. So it is necessary for us to make the changes at this point that will bring us into line with the things that we believe at this point. Now, we live in a world of many surprises, many challenges, many problems. And we are not promised that it will be any different. In fact, we're promised that things are going to get worse, not better, in this world. More troubles, more calamities. We have the hurricane aiming for Florida right now. We must remember to keep the brethren in Florida in our prayers, everyone there. And it's one thing after another, and it will increase as time goes on. But despite all the things that will happen, we ourselves must not be caught up in all these troubles and calamities and so on. In the midst of the storm, we are to remain calm. We are to remain at peace. We are to be an island of peace and faith and trust in God. And as we do that, that very way of reacting to all the things around us will be a blessing to other people. We will bless them, and we will also demonstrate in a very real way the value of our religion. We often say to people, as it were, come and see what we believe and accept what we believe. We say that with words, but as we say it with our life, it will have a much more powerful impact on them. It will actually be far more effective. So as time goes on, we will see this more and more. We will need to be this calm, peaceful people that the Lord describes here. We are all to calmly depend upon God as we look upon the obstacles and stubborn unbelief and consider all the risks that must be ventured, and then listen to the voice of Jesus. Be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Yes, Christ is conqueror. He is our leader, our captain, and we can advance to victory. Because he lives, we shall live also. Now, that is our underlying faith and understanding. It is a rock that we build our peaceful life on. And as we do this, as I said, it will be a tremendous blessing to the people around us, and it will be a blessing to us. If you have to go through a time of trouble, and we do, brethren, that is a fact, if we do have to go through a time of trouble, wouldn't it be better to go through with calm faith on the Lord, that He will see us through? Or would you prefer to go through it frantic and fearful and troubled and doubting and so on? Which is better? Amen. It is better to be peaceful and calm and to have faith in the Lord that He will bring us through. So this is the kind of mindset Davidians must have. We must be of good cheer. We must not let the things that are going on disturb our inner peace. And this is something that is not natural. It's not the way that we would naturally go. You have to work on it. To have this peace, you actually have to work on it. Now, many people see it as, I'll pray about it and that will be the end. And it is the end too for them. They get no other special benefit. To use Paul's example of the race, training for a race, you have to train ahead of time. You have to make an effort ahead of time. To get this peace in the storm, you have to have peace in the time of the relatively good times as today. If you cannot have peace in your life today, when things are not as bad as they're going to get, then how are you going to have the peace then? You're not, brethren. You have to develop it now if you're going to have it then. So, it is necessary for us to begin to practice these things. A real Davidian, indeed, a Bashan Davidian, is a calm person of good cheer. This is calm and peaceful, trusting the Lord, not being fearful-minded, constantly fearing things. If you are fearful-minded, you have to go to the Lord and work on that. You do have to have genuine, real peace of mind. This is not a pretend peace of mind. This is not something that we just talk about, that we put out. It is a genuine peace from the Lord that permeates our heart and allows us to be this calm pillar in the midst of the storm. We have no right to overtax either the mental or the physical powers, so that we are easily excited and led to speak words which dishonor God. Now, when we are tired, when we are stressed, we will tend, our willpower is depleted, our self-control is depleted, and we would tend to say things and do things that we wouldn't normally do, maybe, or at least to that degree. We have no right to put ourselves into that situation. In a very real way, we are presumptuously putting ourselves on the enemy's ground. When we overtax our mind, when we don't sleep enough, when we don't pray enough, when we don't meditate enough, when we don't rest enough. And as we do these things, we are overtaxing our mind, presumptuously putting ourselves in a wrong place. And the presumption comes out in this way. Don't worry, brother, the Lord is going to see me through. Okay, you put yourself in this, and then you're going to say, the Lord will see you through. Well, He doesn't, because you have not done your part, and so we get excited, we lose our peace of mind, we lose self-control, we say things that we shouldn't say, we have conflicts that we shouldn't have. The Lord desires us to be always calm and forbearing. Now, what the Lord desires is just what we desire. It is our way of, we should think of that there's no other way of thinking about it. When the Lord desires something of us, that's all there is to say about it. He desires us to be always calm and forbearing, because in heaven, that is how the angels are. Have you ever imagined an excitable, angry angel in heaven? It doesn't happen. Not now. Not since the evil angels have been put out. And if we are going to be allowed to go to heaven, if we're going to be qualified to go to heaven, we too will always be calm and forbearing. Whatever others may do, we are to represent Christ, doing as he would do under similar circumstances. What would Christ do under all circumstances? He would practice the golden rule. He would do unto others what he would treat them the way that he would want to be treated himself. If we are a husband, we will treat our wife as we want to be treated ourselves, as part of our own flesh. We treat our wife as good as we treat ourselves, and even better. This is the principle of being a Davidian. We don't accept, well, that's not my upbringing, that's not my way of thinking, that's not my culture, and so on. This is the Davidian culture. This is the Davidian way of thinking. And it needs to be the way of thinking and acting for every single Bashan Davidian, wherever they are in the world. There's no exceptions, no waivers here. The Lord is requiring all of us to behave as Christ himself would behave, to always be calm and forbearing, always to be kind and caring. This is the standard of Bashan Davidians. Every jot of ability is to be used, and sharp, calm, deep thinking is to be done. Now, Sister White spoke this in a specific instruction to a planning session, I think, but it applies to us, to anyone. It is inspired advice and a command. We are required to be the very best people that we can be when it comes to our morals, our ethical behavior, and not only that, but our thinking. We need to be able to think in a clear, and when she uses sharp, she means clear, exact way, okay? We need to think deeply to be able to understand things, and we can't do this if we are not used to doing it. Everyone can think in a sharp, calm, deep way who wants to learn and practice it. And we all Davidians need to be able to do this. We learn to do this by practice, by continual effort on this. Now, there's one particular thing. There's many different ways of enhancing our thinking, by the way. It's a very interesting subject, very important subject, but there's one particular way that is fundamental, that has an overriding effect on our thinking, and that is the amount of rest that we get. Today, this day and age, certainly in this country and in most countries too, I know in the Caribbean and in Africa too, at Ghana, at the camp, we could hear the sound from the town. It was several miles away, but sometimes it channels up. You could hear that sound until, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Not loud, mind you, but you could hear it, just barely. What happens is, in our day and age, people are staying up. They're not sleeping as much. There's so many interesting things to do. Interesting music to dance to for those people. Interesting things on the internet. Interesting videos or whatever. Brethren, that all of these things are taking up our time at night in a way that is not natural. The Lord meant for us to rest when the sun went down. And in the times past, people would get a much good sleep in the actually year-round, but certainly in the times of the shorter days and longer nights. That doesn't happen today. People are getting less and less sleep, and it has tremendous effects on our efficiency, our ability to work, accomplish things. And it has a great effect on our mental ability, on our ability to think in a sharp, calm, deep way. It has a powerful effect on our thinking. A lot of people these days get 5 hours or so, 5-6 hours of sleep. And you say, oh, no, I get 6.5 or 7 hours, but you don't, because unless you are tracking it, you're not factoring in for the amount of time in the night when you're not sleeping. People wake up and then they don't always go back to sleep, many people. And so you think you had 7 hours when you had 6 hours, and so on. And it's very, very common. And if you're not familiar with this and you think that's not so, it's only because you haven't looked into the actual tracking of people's sleep. And as you see the amount of sleep people are getting, it's quite surprising, it's quite remarkable. There's a lot of mistaken behavior here. People are making some really big mistakes. Good sleep is 8 hours of sleep a night. You do that for a week and you're going to feel different. You're going to feel refreshed. You're going to feel sharp and clear. And to be able to be calm and think in a deep way is going to come much easier to you than if you are in a sleep state where you for quite a while you have not had the sleep that you should have. Health reform, people who practice health reform sleep 8 hours approximately a night. Okay, actual sleep. Now that varies. There's some people who sleep 7+ hours and deep sleep, and there's some who will sleep 9. But overall, 8 hours of sleep. If you are getting less than that, substantially, brethren, you are not practicing real health reform in this particular regard. It wasn't known until 10, 15 years ago, maybe a little longer, that the effects of sleep deprivation were as serious as we know them to be now. They have profound effects on the body, on your heart, on your blood sugar, just on a number of things. And so if you will try this, if you will sleep about 8 hours, and remember, to get 8 hours of sleep, this is it always kind of offends me myself, but to get 8 hours of sleep, you've got to be in bed for about 9 hours, okay? If you figure out a better way and you can get that 8 hours in a all at one shot, 8 hours, fine, okay? Michael Jackson thought he had figured out a better way when he used to have the infusion of that drug put into his system. It was a general anesthetic that knocked you out, and he would get good sleep like that. Unfortunately, it turned out to be a permanent sleep for him. There is no shortcuts. You don't get a shortcut here. You have to do the 8 hours, brethren, and it is a tremendous benefit if you will do it. And that is part of our developing our mental powers and spiritual powers. To be Christ is to be consecrated to his work, to employ every power of the mind and every member of the body to do his will and to advance his glory. It is to open the heart to his word, to contemplate his matchless charms until The overflowing tribute of the soul shall be, hear what the Lord has done for me. Now, it is necessary for all of us who want to be true Davidians to employ every power of the mind and every member of the body to do his will. Now, this is a member of the body, my arm. If my arm is, and my legs are a member, my leg, one leg. If my arm is weak or my leg is weak and I can't do things, or I can't do much, and I said, well, I'm getting up in age here. Well, maybe so. Maybe I am getting up in age, but you know what happened? I let that member deteriorate. I did not keep it exercised. I did not deliberately cultivate every power of my mind and body. And this is happening to all of us, brethren, who are above 19 years old. It is happening to all of us, brethren, and we do need to take this into consideration. It is necessary for us to deliberately exercise the mind, the powers of the mind, and the body, if we are truly going to be among his servants. Many people are not going to be called and chosen because they allowed themselves to fade off into the sunset. We don't need to do that. We need to keep ourselves as strong and healthy as we possibly can in mind and body. And we do this for his glory. We do this because the Lord has asked us to do this. That is why we're doing this. You must train your powers to be strong and vigorous. Then the entrusted talents will grow as a steady, uniform, unyielding energy is exercised in bearing individual responsibility. God would have you add, day by day, little by little, to your stock of ideas, acting as if the moments were jewels to be carefully gathered and discreetly cherished. You will thus acquire breadth of thought and strength of intellect. Now, how many of us woke up this morning saying, I am going to develop breadth of thought and strength of intellect this morning? How many of us woke up thinking that? Well, brethren, this is our requirement. Okay? The Lord wants us to be learning something. Now, it turns out that when you are learning something, you actually are exercising the brain, and that's very important. But you also are adding day by day to your stock of ideas. What does that do? It helps us to acquire breadth of thought. We are not narrow-minded. Our interests are broad. We are able to converse with people on multiple subjects. Okay, it's very important that we be able to talk to anybody in an intelligent way. Very often we don't have this breadth of thought and strength of intellect, and so there are many people who we can't really converse with in an intelligent way. And that's sad, brethren. We have just reduced our ability to serve the Lord. He asked us to be able to do this, to be able to talk and work for anyone. It is the duty of everyone to cultivate cheerfulness instead of brooding over sorrow and troubles. So, even when we have calamities, personal calamities, it is possible to cultivate cheerfulness. It is this cheerful spirit comes from the Lord. It is something that we can cultivate, we can develop. And you can have, I'll give you an example here, a hypothetical example, but you know it's quite real. There are many people out there in society who have a lot of money, maybe education, and so on, but they're not happy. It's like that life is so horrible in many different ways. And they have not been touched, their life has not been touched at all with the calamities that other people have. And then you can go to different places and you see people who have had many family calamities, many calamities in their own life sometimes, and you talk to them and they're cheerful, positive people. So it's not the reality of what happened to you that controls how you react, how you feel. It is our mind that controls that. And it is possible, the mind has the power to control how we react. We can react to life in a positive, cheerful way. The Lord is calling on us to do that, to not be the brooding, unhappy people, but to be the cheerful, positive people. That is what Bashan Davidians are called on. All are called on, but not everyone will hear, not everyone will listen. The true Bashan Davidian is going to go this way, and is already going this way. If we look on the bright side of things, we shall find enough to make us cheerful and happy. If we give smiles, they will be returned to us. If we speak pleasant, cheerful words, they will be spoken to us again. Now, this kind of life is this positive life where we give good things to other people and they give back good things to us, uplifting things, is the life that we are called to live by, here and everywhere. We all Davidians, all Bashan Davidians are called to do this. Now, as we do this, we'll be lifting each other up constantly. We'll be happier. We'll be better people because we are constantly receiving a smile, receiving a little bit of a kindness from somebody that we then turn and share again with somebody else. And this is what is required of us, brethren. The genuine Bashan Davidian is always willing to share this kind word, this a cheerful smile, this positive deed with somebody else. And you do these things without looking for anything in return. You do these things and the Lord blesses you with many blessings instead. Watch and pray is an injunction often repeated in the scriptures. In the lives of those who obey this injunction, there will be an undercurrent of happiness that will bless all with whom they are brought in contact. Those who are sour and cross in disposition will become sweet and gentle. Those who are proud will become meek and lowly. Now, this is what we are called on to do. To watch and pray, to meditate and pray, to study these things, to practice these things. This undercurrent of happiness is real. If we don't have it to its full extent right now, we have not truly tasted of the Lord and the good things that He has for us. Those who are sour and cross in disposition still, these people have not tasted of this at all. No true Davidian can be sour and cross. We cannot be like that. We're the opposite. We are the cheerful, happy, uplifting people. In the midst of the storm, we are still like this. Even in calamities, we're the people whose steady behavior calms down everyone else. And we have to be like this. We cannot be fearful. We cannot be sour, cross, troubled, neurotic, all these negative things that come together. This is not for us. This is our closing thought. It is the duty of everyone who professes to be a Christian to keep his thoughts under the control of reason and oblige himself to be cheerful and happy. However bitter may be the cause of his grief, he should cultivate a spirit of rest and quietude in God. Sadness and talking of disagreeable things is encouraging the disagreeable scenes, bringing back upon oneself the disagreeable effect. God wants us to forget all these, not look down, but look up. And Sister White puts it in a way that no true Davidian can ignore. It is our duty to embody these principles in our life. It is our duty to do this. It is our duty when we leave here to think these things over, to review these things, and to see how we're practicing it, and to put it into practice tomorrow and the next day and the next day. We are to oblige ourselves to be cheerful and happy regardless of the circumstances. And this kind of behavior is hard to ignore. It is impressive to people. Now you can't pretend, we're not asking anyone to just in a terrible situation pretend to be like this, but we are saying that this is how we practice now. We practice having this cheerful and happy attitude, just as we are to practice the golden rule now, practice this mental attitude, peaceful, calm, quiet, cheerful, and happy. And as we do these things, the Lord will bless us in a way that we haven't fully experienced yet. He will bless us personally, and we in turn will be a blessing to all those that we come in contact in a way that will surprise us. It will be surprising and gratifying to see how the Lord can use each one of us to do good in the world, and everyone that we come in contact with, especially the household of faith. It will be very encouraging to all of us as we see these things taking shape. It's real, brethren, and it's time now that we do these things. We're past time. We don't actually have the option of making a full another 40-year round in the wilderness. Okay, we're coming down to the end of time, and we couldn't do that even if we wanted to do it. The Lord is going to have a special people. He has called us to be part of that. You have a chance to be part of it, but it will cost you. And with God, everything is positive. It will cost you. The price that He wants to charge you is you will be happy. You will be peaceful. Okay? You'll be cheerful. All of these good things are the things that He is requiring of us. So it is a good thing. It is a good God that we serve. It is a good message that we have. The last message: be faithful all the way to the end, to it and to the Lord. Thanks, brethren.